Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast, where we give you the tips, tools and techniques you need to be a mentally healthy and inclusive leader. Each week, you'll hear about a variety of topics linked to mental health, well-being and diversity that will enhance both your professional practice and personal well-being. Welcome to the 56th episode of the Diverse Minds podcast. And as part of the Self-Care September series, today I'm going to be talking about creating safe spaces for specific cultural groups. And I'm delighted to be joined by Rupinder Kaur, founder and CEO of Asian Women Mean Business and the Inspire Monthly Club. Rupinder is the award-winning founder of Asian Women Mean Business and a British Asian woman who has experienced and excelled in both corporate and entrepreneurial environments. She's always been fascinated about the power of our human mind, the motivation, beliefs and thoughts that drive our actions and behaviours. And this is what inspired her to study BA Hons Psychology and Educational Development 20 years ago. She then followed this with an MSc in Human Resource Management and Business, and she has led an 18-year career in the field of HR, leadership training, coaching and mentoring. She's incredibly passionate about helping Asian women unlock their silent strength to empower them to reach their full potential. She helps them shift their self-limiting beliefs and low confidence to professional and personal joy by providing the framework, resources, and support needed to build balance and structure within a vibrant sisterhood. With her unique experience in the world of human resources, psychology, coaching and mentoring, she's able to utilise all her knowledge and tools to ensure women are given the support they need to live a life they are proud of and that reflects their values and dreams. She's a mother to Daya and Sahib and understands the challenges that working mothers face and also how becoming a mother can change your identity as a woman, your life aspirations and trying to understand who you really are. Rupinder was invited and accepted into the Forbes Coaches Council in January 2020, and she's the only Asian woman from the UK on this prestigious council. So needless to say, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Rupinder to the show today. Welcome Rupinder to the show.
Thanks, Layla. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're so excited to have you here, Rupinder, and I've just given a brief introduction to you.
So I think our listeners would love to hear what made you set up Asian Women Mean Business?
Yeah, so Asian Women Mean Business came about sort of some 7 years ago, and really it was me creating what I needed to be a part of. And what had happened was I left the corporate world and left my HR role and decided to go freelance as a HR consultant and coach when I had my daughter Daya. So Daya just turned 9. So this was 8 years ago. And the first thing you do when you do set up your own small business, as we all know, is that you hit the networking groups and you start to put yourself out there, both in terms of obviously getting the word out there in what you're doing and starting to build up a client profile. But also what I found was that when you leave the corporate world and you set up something like this and you go freelance, you need support. I felt really lonely. I felt really as if I was missing something. I'm missing the camaraderie and support of my HR colleagues from my previous roles. And as I was going to lots of different networking events, I just felt like there was something missing for me. And so I did all the main networking events, and then I kind of thought, actually, maybe it's the women, maybe I need more female support. So then I started to go specifically to female networking events. And yes, while that they went some way to offer support and give me a sense of belonging, it wasn't quite what I was looking for. And what I was looking for is essentially what Asian Women Mean Business is and what I created, which was this online platform featuring incredible women who look like me, who look like us, women from our community who are stepping outside of their comfort zone and following their purpose. And the reason that is so important is because I believe in the saying that you cannot be what you cannot see. And so many of us from the South Asian community are held back by our limiting beliefs and our social conditioning around what is possible for women that look like us. And I just wanted there to be this really positive online space oozing with women who could share how they have followed their passion and purpose and made it happen. And then there needed to be an offline version of that where women, like-minded women, could come together, we could support each other, we could have access to tools and coaching, and really start to brainstorm and think about how collectively we can come together to be stronger by pooling our resources and our strengths and our mindsets. So really that's how AWMB came about. It came about because I felt that that was what I was missing, and I just thought, if I feel like that, there must be other women that feel the same. And that's exactly, that was the case. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember seeing AWMB thinking, oh my goodness, how did I not know that this existed? It's so fantastic. And the resources and the testimonials and the stories that you have on your website are just phenomenal.
And what made you take the plunge from working in HR full-time to running a nourishing membership for South Asian women and being a coach full-time?
I am a very big believer in intuition, but that's been a journey and a process of trusting my intuition, which has only become as strong as it is probably over the last sort of 4 to 5 years. Before that, my background is I have a degree in psychology and I have a master's in human resources, and I have spent the past 18 years in the HR field in some capacity or another. And I love human resources. I've always been fascinated by human psychology and motivation and behaviours, and how is it that you can have two organisations that might be producing the same content or the same products, but one is leading the way. And it's always down to the human resources. It's always down to things like they have a really smart, talented marketing pool, or they have really smart, talent people working who can, invent nuances within the product, or identify opportunities. It's always down to people. So that's how I got into HR. And but I probably knew very early on that I wasn't meant to be an employee. And I say that because I have quite itchy feet, and I would get restless very quickly. I would be seeking and looking for the next opportunity. And I was quite fortunate, actually, in the first 10 years of my career, I was able to move up the career ladder very, very quickly. I had some fabulous mentors and coaches who were able to guide me. I was able to move through different organizations very, very quickly. And it really helped to give me the confidence that I needed to then decide, as I said 8 years ago, when I wanted to set up by myself and go freelance, that I had the skill set, I had the knowledge, the experience, the contacts and connections to be able to do that. But even then, it was, I had to do a lot of mindset work, because I found myself, I was holding myself back. I was holding myself back in what I thought I could do. And it took me a while to really start to build up this practice and get going with it. And ultimately then what actually happened was that AWMB took over the consulting and the coaching work that I was doing, and has just grown and flourished of its own accord. So that so where previously I was consulting and working with small entrepreneurs and large corporates and NGOs, I've actually put a pause on all of that work now to solely focus on AWMB, because that is, as you said earlier, actually about intuition, that is where my intuition is guiding me and taking me.
That's so interesting, isn't it? And thinking about your culture and spirituality, and maybe it's linked to intuition, how does that influence then your business and the way you do things? You've given one example about how your consultancy and things are on pause, but how else does, feel free to say more about your culture and your spirituality and how that helps you and defines the way in which you do things.
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I think my core values come from a combination of my culture, my spirituality, and also my faith and my practicing faith. So I'm a Sikh. I'm a baptized Sikh, so I'm very visibly a Sikh woman. And the values that my personal values and the values that are aligned with my business around integrity, authenticity, and collaboration are so closely aligned. Particularly integrity, that comes, yes, from my moral code and from, my moral compass of wanting to do good, of wanting to be seen to be doing good and doing the right thing and having a sense of right and wrong and justice. But it is so closely linked to the fact that I'm a very, very much a visible Sikh woman, and everything I do, everything I say has and bears a reflection on more than just me and more than just AWMB. It bears a reflection on the fact that, I'm a Sikh of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and I have to think that what my actions are going to reflect on my Guru. So when you have that mindset, it does make you really thoughtful and considered in terms of what am I saying yes to, what am I, and making sure that it's absolutely aligned with what I want to be seen to be doing and to be doing, and it sits right with my values. But also it's just heightened and strengthened and emboldened my life, because when you have a core faith and when you believe in the divine, when you believe in spirituality and you believe that you are being guided with some of these principles, it makes you unshakable. It makes your foundation unshakable. And, even when I think back to the start of this pandemic and the lockdown, I've been very vocal about this. All my paid work had been cancelled. All the events that I was going to be speaking at, I had been speaking to corporates about rolling in coaching for their South Asian female talent, and all of that, on hold, cancelled. And it was a moment that I just had to take stock and take a bit of a breath and just think, right, what now? And that's the time I really leaned on my faith. I just knew, look, something is going to come of this. I just need to be resilient and withstand this moment of time, and just be open to the opportunities that it brings as well. So it's a huge part of me. It's something that I am unashamedly I embrace, and that's part of the authenticity that I think everyone should do that. Be who you are, be proud of who you are. Let's be proud of our differences and everything that makes us us. Because for too long, I think, especially women in our community, we've been limited and been told what to be and how to be. And I'm sensing a change in that now, and I think it's really powerful for us to continue with that.
You sense there's a change in that now. Where do you think that change is coming from, or how do you think that change has come to fruition?
So I think social media has played, for all of its negative parts, and which we can go into, but there is positive there. I think what social media has done, it's obviously made the world a smaller place. It's amplified the voices of minorities. It's given women like us a platform, an opportunity to raise our voice, to have our voice being heard. And then what happens is, you with this podcast, or me with what I'm doing, other women see that. And they know it's okay to be themselves. They know it's okay to look the way they look. They know it's okay to have their voice. They know it's okay to share their message. Because that's what I always say. We all have a voice. We all have a message, and we just need to tap into that and peel back the limiting beliefs and the conditioning that has told us that we're not allowed to do that.
It's so true, Rupinder, and I'm sure you've seen the sort of meme that's been going around, and it says, it's various different sort of formats, but it says one day someone will read your story and it will help them to get to where they need to be. And I think you're so amazing, and that's what you do. You really empower people to do that, and so that we can all look at your story, look at other people's stories, and look at other similar South Asian women or different South Asian women's stories and think, you know what, like you said, you can't be what you can't see, but I can see them. I can see they've done this, and you're empowering someone on your journey.
Absolutely, and we're doing it for the next generation. I'm doing this for my daughter, my nieces, for the next generation that are coming, because we stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before us and who have smashed through glass ceilings and barriers. And yes, they still exist. And this isn't to say they don't. Of course they exist. You know, I've spent 18 years working in corporate HR. I know they exist. But it's to say that when we come together as women, we can make it so much easier for ourselves, for each other, for the generation that has come before us, and the generation that will be coming after us. And that's the message, really. That we can do it together.
Yeah, because we know that, and we also know that South Asian culture generally is very collectivist. So what you say makes perfect sense and is absolutely within the cultural context of how we tend to operate.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And again, there's, you know, as with anything, there are things to embrace of our culture, and there's things to be embraced about having that culture. But also what we have to recognise is that we are living in the West and being born in the UK and in the West, which has a very individualistic culture. There is turmoil there for people and women, particularly in our community. And I remember I've definitely felt like this starting off in my corporate career, because I had been brought up to be submissive and have a real reverence to hierarchy, to authority, to the patriarchy. You know, that's what South Asian women this is how I was brought up.
Yeah.
And then I did that throughout university, and then I got into the corporate world and realised very quickly that unless you are advocating for yourself, unless you are championing your strengths, because, you know, in our culture, modesty is a huge thing. We downplay our successes, we downplay our strengths because it's not seen. It's you know, it's considered to be uncouth to be boasting or have pride around that. But then when you get into the corporate world and you need to shout about what you're doing, you need to make sure that senior leaders know about what's happening. You need to know about when you're, you know, advocating for yourself in an appraisal, that people know what it is that you're doing. And I remember the first couple of years I found that hugely challenging, that turmoil between the way I was raised and the way I then was knew I had to behave in the corporate world. And it was only once I really understood the nuances of my background, our culture, of understanding the nuances of the Western culture, and finding a way that worked for me, that felt authentic, that felt that I could advocate for myself whilst being true to who I am and my roots. That's when that turmoil started to ease off. But it was a journey. It didn't happen overnight. And there was, you know, it was quite rough in the beginning and quite raw. And then what happens is over time you get more practiced at it, you get more experienced at it, and it makes it a lot more easier.
And I think, yeah, I can identify with a lot of what you've said, and finding peace with that inner turmoil and the turmoil, even if it's not necessarily inner, actually, around the workplace politics and your own personal culture and your family culture. So what would you advise, Rupinder, other South Asian women who want to follow their hearts and go for it but feel stuck or confused?
That's such a great question. I think the first thing to do is to sit with the stuck and confusion and see what's coming up for you. Where is it a limiting belief? What is it that's coming up? What's causing the confusion? Just as I had to, and I've shared, you know, I had to do this exact same process in terms of when I wanted to excel in the corporate world, was understand, why does this make me feel uncomfortable? And sit with the discomfort. And for me, it was tracing it back to my upbringing and the fact that I wasn't taught to be proud of my achievements. I wasn't taught how to articulate that. If anything, it wasn't considered to be the right thing. So then being in the corporate world and having to do that, that's where the turmoil. So I had to sit with that and seek the resolutions. But also, I think we live in such incredible times now. We have access to tools and resources that that we didn't have access to before. We have access to coaches. We have access to certain exercises and books and YouTube and podcasts. There has never been a better time to really undergo this process of self-inquiry, of asking yourself the answers, and then going and seeking the answers and seeing what comes up for you. And I would absolutely encourage women in our community from the South Asian background to go and look at what other South Asian women are doing. And the reason I say that, as opposed to what other women are doing, is because as great as it is, and we have so many incredible women who are pioneers and who are in all types of industries and backgrounds. Certainly what I have found is that women then sometimes say, oh, but they don't understand. It's not the same for us. We're from our background. And then I say, well, hold on. I then kind of reel off a list of South Asian women that are from our background who are excelling. And then you can see that the process of women understanding, wow, actually, if it's possible for them, it is possible for me. So how then can I make it possible for me? So yeah, go and have a look and seek out the women who are doing it. Make a list of what it is that you admire in them, and that, because that will be telling you something about something you are seeking. And the thing that really shifts women from being in a place of confusion, lack of confidence, low self-esteem, is being surrounded by the right people to get you to where you want to be. So if you're only surrounded by people who are telling you what's not possible, then it's inevitable that that's going to be limiting what you think that you want to do. The minute you step up into a different tribe and a different group, and you step into a group of women who are doing the impossible, it shifts your perspective and your mindset like nothing else.
And I just, it's phenomenal, actually, isn't it, how that works, and how we can all look back at times in our lives and think about friends that didn't do us good. And we've talked about this quite a lot, haven't we, that people that might have served you, when they don't serve you, it's not that you put them in the bin, but you distance yourself and you think, they're not making me happy anymore and they're not serving me, so I need to find a community, a space, a tribe that does.
And it's okay to make peace with that. It's okay to understand that if you are seeking a journey of growth and expansion, whether that's personal, career, entrepreneurial, it's inevitable you are going to outgrow certain people, certain groups. That's inevitable. And there's still a way to deal with that with grace, and to thank them for the part they have played to get you to where you are, and to release with grace, to know that there's going to be other people that will take you, help take you to where you need to go.
And on that, thinking about people who need to take you where you need to go, I'm one of your members of the wonderful Inspire Club, and it's been brilliant. And I remember just getting the email in my inbox from you, Rupinder, and seeing it and thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't know I needed this, but I do. And it's been brilliant to be part of it. And I just wondered whether you wanted to talk a bit about the Inspire Club, what it is, and when the doors are opening.
Oh, I would love that. And we love having you as part of our Inspire Club. And it's so funny, isn't it? Because you and I have been connected and I've been following your work. And then when you joined and your name popped up, I did a little bit of a dance, because it was just so lovely. I just felt like, yes, I just knew that you would enhance our community, and you have, because you were kind enough to deliver one of our masterclasses and bring your expertise to our group, which has been phenomenal. So Inspire Club came about earlier this year because it was something that I had been mulling about for a while, because one of the first questions I usually get with AWMB is, how do I join? And I always say, well, at the time there was nothing to join. You either came to one of the workshops I hosted, or you invested in people, women invested in my 10-week coaching program. Well, COVID put paid to all of that. And what I was finding was that my inbox, I was just getting so many messages from women looking for support, looking for community, looking for coaching and guidance and wisdom. And I just didn't have any way that I could serve them. So I set up this monthly Inspire Club, which is a community of like-minded women. It's all virtual, all online, where I deliver masterclasses, we have guest speakers, we have a theme that we approach, and it's a community of like-minded women who are coming together and exploring some of the bigger questions around life and career and business, and want to have that guidance and coaching and expertise in a really safe environment. So this is, we're 5 months in, we're about to open the doors again. So you were a founding member along with sort of 140 other women, and it's been incredible because what we've been doing the last 5 months is tweaking and investing and adjusting, and I've been getting feedback to understand what's working, what's not working, with a view that when we open the doors to new members on Monday the 21st of September, it's in a place where we can do that. So we're doing that up towards the end of the month. We only open twice a year, and that was a very purposeful reason for that, because I wanted to shift from welcoming to then really kind of buckling down and doing the work in terms of leading the content and helping support and coach and guide and leading with the transformations that so many incredible women are experiencing by being plugged into this magical community. So yes, we're opening for the last time on September the 21st. Last time in 2020. We will then reopen in 6 months' time.
And one of the beautiful things about that group is I really feel people were open, weren't they, from minute one, when you said, welcome everyone, introduce yourself below. And people the women on that group just felt that it was already a safe space, and the things that they were sharing in the introductions, sometimes you wouldn't know that about people for years, knowing them, and how much trust that you managed to create in that space.
That was incredible, and I have witnessed that before. So I've seen that happen. It certainly happen when I do my workshops or in the intimate coaching programs. I wasn't sure how it would translate to a larger group virtually, but as you said, it blew me away, and the reason for that is really clear, because I've set out the values and the tenets of that group right from the outset, which is around complete confidentiality, no judgment, and always coming at supporting one another with a positive intent. So understanding that whilst we may not always agree with the decisions or choices that women have made, we actually don't know what's led them to making those choices. But what I do believe is that if we come from a positive place of compassion, of empathy, of wanting to support, we certainly make that group and make the world a much better place. But it's been incredible, and just in the short time that we have been together, I've been reading through some of the testimonials that have come in, and they blow me away. Honestly, I'm literally in tears when I'm reading them, because I can see how much this was needed. And it's such a privilege and an honor to hold this space for my sisters. It really, really is.
Oh, well, we all get so much out of it, Rupinder. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about joining, I would say please join. You will not regret it. You will not look back. It's been absolutely fantastic. You can do as much, you can be involved as much or as little or as middling as you want to, and it's a really supportive space. So the link's in the show notes. You can check it out, and don't delay. Join today, I would say, and that's from me. And so, I always ask my guests about mental health and well-being. You do a lot of supporting other people. You're a parent. I know that you're very close to your family. You're in touch with your extended family. And so how do you look after your own mental health and well-being?
This is my mental health and well-being is hugely important to me, and not least because when I had Sahib, so my son, nearly 3 years ago, I went through a bout of postnatal depression, and it was something that really knocked the wind out of my sails. And it was one of the few times in life where I really, when life brings you to your knees, it was so incredibly humbling. But what I did to get out of that experience was the tools and the resources and everything that I advocate. And what I've realized is that if I don't stay on top of that, very quickly I can give into the spiral of stress and anxiety, and that can lead to a negative impact on my well-being. So what I'm very, very clear about, Layla, is, and I say this, and you know this because I say it a lot to members and clients, is that we cannot pour from an empty cup. And especially given the work that we're doing, if we're supporting other people, it is so important that we are coming at it from a place of being really resilient and whole, and feeling that our own cup has been fully full. So I'm very, very clear on what my needs are, and I'm very good at communicating my needs. And I think that's been the biggest learning for me in terms of the work I have done, is that South Asian women in particular, first of all, we are not good at recognizing our needs, and there's usually some guilt associated with that. We're so used to, aren't we? We're so used to seeing our mums and our grandmas and women, our aunties, being these incredible martyrs, and they do everything and they don't moan and they get on with it. So that when we have to think about our own needs, it makes us feel selfish and guilty, and there's shame attached to that, and that does not serve us. So we need to be really honest and open with ourselves and say, what are my needs? And then we need to communicate them to ourselves and our loved ones. So I do that. I'm very open at saying to my family, my husband, my friends, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this for myself. And what I also make sure I do is I share that. So I share that with members and clients. So I'll say, I'm really feeling the need that I need to go and check into a hotel by myself. No husband, no kids. And initially when I started saying this, I could see eyebrows being raised. And then are we allowed to do that? And I just said, yes, we are. And now what I see this in Inspire Club. I see women saying, guess what? I'm checking into a hotel, or I'm off to do this for myself, or I'm going for a really lovely walk, or and it's about understanding what works for you. So solitude works for me. It might not work for you if that has a negative impact. But for me, I like to be in nature. I like to be alone. I like to plug into certain kinds of books and music. I love certain podcasts that recharge me. I have a meditation practice and a prayer practice. I have a mindfulness practice. I know what works for me. And actually what I do is I have a list on my phone. And I did this when I had postnatal depression, because when you have depression, you can't see the wood for the trees. You can't understand what will shift your state. So I made a list, and it was a list of do this, do this, do this, do this, and I work my way down that list until I feel more grounded and whole. And I often share that list with other people as well. But I think it's just so important for women to start embracing that without guilt, without shame. And I think it's important that we speak about it more often. Actually, what are we doing for ourselves?
Yeah, I think, I couldn't agree more. And I love your tip about you make a list when you feel well, when you're your mentally optimum. So when you're mentally low or you're not your mental optimum, you've got it there and you know what you need to do. Because you're right, when you feel low, you feel unwell, you have diagnosed depression, or you feel symptoms that are associated with depression, you need to remind yourself what helps you to feel well. So I think that's super helpful, Rupinder.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as I say, it helped me. It continues to help me, and I've shared it on countless occasions and added to it, because when you share it, someone else will say, "Oh, actually, this has really helped me." Then I add that to it. And I can say it's a little bit like having an in case of emergency, break this box sort of thing. In case of emergency, bring out that list.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So we've had an amazing discussion. You've talked about, why you set up Asian Women Mean Business, the Inspire Club, how you took the plunge, what other South Asian women can do if they want to reach their goals, but they feel a bit stuck and confused, and actually to sit with that. So that was really powerful to hear. And top tips for your mental health and well-being. So, I would say, and don't forget the Inspire Club, everyone. And if people want to know more about your work and what you do, Rupinder, how would you like people to contact you?
Yeah, so you can find us on, we have a really comprehensive website, which is asianwomenmeanbusiness.com. And there's lots of really great, inspiring articles on there. And, there's content of what I always say, there's content of depth and substance and inspiration. So what you won't find on there very purposely is, recipes and lifestyle tips. And because there's lots of really amazing bloggers and other people who are doing that, I purposely haven't done that. What I wanted to focus on is for women to have a space to turn to if they're seeking inspiration and looking. And I guarantee if you're looking for that, you will find that on our website. And, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always really happy to connect with people on there as well.
Brilliant. And those are all in the show notes, so please do check it out. So that's the website, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And so that just leaves me to say thank you so much, Rupinder. It's been a joy as always, and full of nuggets of gold wisdom. And I'm really excited to welcome in our new sisters for this intake for 2020 on the Inspire Club towards the middle end of the month. And just thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thanks, Layla. I've loved it. I love your podcast. And congratulations on your first year.
Thank you.
Yes, and if anything I have said resonates with you, do consider joining us in the Inspire Club. It would be my honour to host you and to be your coach.
And thank you. And don't forget, everyone, do check those out, and we'll see you in the next episode. And in the meantime, keep taking care for Self-Care September.
Thanks for listening to the Diverse Minds podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts from. You can also connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Tune into next week's episode of the podcast, where I'll bring you more insights on mental health and inclusion. Bye for now.